Good evening, lovelies. Welcome to Crown and Control. I am Goddess Chrystal Ru, Sacred Power Coach, Dominatrix, Visionary Mother, Builder, and CEO of Triquetra in the Circle. It's been a while, and I have something to say. So, lovelies, as you have known or seen from my absence, that it's been pretty quiet over here on Crown and in Control, but I most definitely have not been absent. I've been enjoying my views going up in the background, working, carving out a safe place beyond the clouds, beyond your ears, beyond your mind, a physical and virtual community for us to connect because with the current state of the world and the meaning of community, I figured why not open and share a safe place for others to learn to exist while coexisting. I mean, what's the point of having the crown and being in control if you don't have the ability or use your resources, your own power to help others? Okay, so some things I want to address in this podcast today. I'm talking about building empires, okay? This empire being Triquetra in the circle, of course. I'm sure you've been seeing my logo pop up more and more places of the Triquetra. I have been getting many questions of people asking, what does that symbol stand for? What does it mean? And I'll be happy to address that in another episode. This episode is about building this empire in motion behind the silence of where I've been and what I have been building. If you know me personally, then you know I can be quite the talker and also the listener, and we'll have a conversation going back and forth forever, just flowing, which is wonderful when you can find someone to exist with, someone who you naturally flow, whether in person, out of person, the reach that happens, the silence in between. But what happens when that silence grows too long? When one, such as myself, stopped broadcasting and I started blueprinting. Because while I felt my words were reaching, I wondered, how can I actually connect? How can I build a closer community for those who are either too shy to reach out or don't have the time, the space, the connection? I wanted you to be able to connect inside of yourself so well that it feels like you're connecting to a higher being. Even though I'm a goddess, I am not referencing myself. When I say the higher being, I mean the higher being of self, as there are paths in life, layers, depending on what you believe in and such, and what you're willing to learn. So hopefully you stay tuned with me, as you already have so well, to learn more about the triquetra layers, the offering, the structure of the triquetra, and in the silence of you listening, don't feel ashamed if it's still not connecting with you just yet, as silence isn't shame. It's actually preparation, listening, giving your mind time to process information. And as your mind is processing what these lovely words of mine are saying, hopefully I'm not talking too fast, not talking, and talking too much, as I do like to talk sometimes. Believe it or not, I'm antisocial. People find it hard to believe, but I am very much antisocial, even though, I don't know, once I start talking, I could come across as a social butterfly. But as the silence in between my talking is taking form, you will hear a variety of patterns, I'm sure, meanings, thoughts come through you. I want you to study those patterns. I want you to break down a place where your feelings belong, not just in this podcast as you're listening, but as you go about your normal day. I want you to put things into layers, like the triquetra, believe it or not, is layers. It's not the, stumble of words. It's not just the glow of Luna's moon. It's not just the triquetra inside the circle. There is a outer layer, the inner layer, and of course the celestial. Each visible layers, each one has a purpose, each one follows a path, and each one reaches progression, a certain state of flow that is free to enter and exit out of at will or with permission, depending, of course, again, your beliefs, what you believe in, your dedication to change, learning something new about yourself, be it past, present, or future alignments that you seek to accomplish. Example being my outer layer, inner layer, and celestial layer. My outer layer, if I had to say, I have three sides of me, of course. Well, more than that, but that's another conversation for another day. But in the essence of my forward facing persona, who I am, goddess Chrystal Ru, there are other parts of me, my inner side, whom I keep as the barrier of goddess Chrystal Ru, and my other personality, of course, what my kids know me as, my vanilla me, the mom, and such. And then there's Chrystal, the spicy me, the darker side. And then there is the in between where I coexist. That is the inner layers. I would like to know some of your layers. Who is your front facing person? And does it depend on your situation, where you're located, who you're around? Who is that front facing outer persona to the world? And then what is your celestial persona? The root of you, the thing that was already anchored within. And then where is that inner line? The place where, again, if you look at the triquetra and the circle, the logo itself, the inner is that inner piece right outside of the circle. The second little wave right beside the triquetra. What does that hold? The protection layer. Do you have the control of your celestial layer to even identify who you are, the flow of yourself? These are some things I've been working on and helping others tap into with the Triquetra in the circle. Hopefully it makes sense. If not, shoot me a question asking me to break it down. I'll be more than happy to break down the layers, the map of the Triquetra and the circle. Now, well, that just may sound like a ramble of things. It helps more to have the visual map, of course, and that is the Triquetra. I'm probably said Triquetra 1,000,000,000 times now, but hopefully it's bored into your head. The Triquetra is something that moves in threes, of course. Again, another episode for another day. We will break down, and of course, future one-on-ones and classes on my website. Goddess in Control helps break down more involving paths and flow into your own personal life to exist while coexisting. One way to exist, of course, is to live in the moment. And that means relying on your senses to see what's around you. So why not map and visualize paths? That way, if you don't like it, you can make a change to your path. If it's too long and such, there are ways to make changes to your path. And I am here as long and as well as what the community is here to help lead ourselves, you, with the right intention to get to a certain state of just existing, which seems not harder these days, but I guess more complicated could mean harder with so much other outside noise and energy constantly flowing around us. It's just nice to have a safe place to go to where you get your aura vibe energy just intertwine either even in your alone time or again in a community with others who just get it even without the words, just the feeling. So I welcome you guys to come on over, ask questions, visit my website, reach out to learn more about the track record in the circle. But back to you in your alone time of listening to me. I want you guys to understand as you listen through the time of passage from me first starting this podcast to all of my other adventures of entering the Dom scene, the BDSM scene, and finding myself along the way. And with finding myself along the way, excuse the difference in my voice if you notice. I happened to realize that the microphone wasn't connected. But to be fair, I did say, even though I'm not the most social butterfly, once I start talking, I do get in there and I have so much to say without trying to overwhelm you guys and all, especially with that possible shocker of me being a lifestyle dom, a dominatrix. And yes, I did say earlier I am a mother. Hence why I decided to carve out a safe space, not just for me and those like me, even though for sure is who it's for, but also others who have identities that they barely have the space to claim, barely have the space to explore freely, and those who understand the flow of unseen paths, unseen connections, living in solitude, and the beauty, the requirements, balancing the joy, the hate of coexisting with others, to coexist inside your own body, your minds, with self. Those are some things that is explored in the circle, which I definitely invite you to join me for a one-on-one. I want to know about your circles and where you divide your triquetra in life, your paths. If you don't know, I invite you to explore a one-on-one and let's explore each other together. The beauty of life is being grounded to something while we're here to enjoy it. Not just grounding yourself to the root, to ancestries, to beliefs, to simple understandings. The challenge of visiting your past, letting go, having the atmosphere to challenge beliefs or to even accept them as your own. And here's the hard truth of that. The hard truth of solitude, as most of us have entered in, especially either prior to COVID, after COVID, during COVID, unrelated to COVID, many of us have found beauty in solitude, comfort, as well as finding beauty in our loved ones, our activities, our crafts. But there are still those who fear silence as they equate it with irrelevance. And here in the circle, as that is the blank space in time where there is no gravity, barely any light, of course. As we know, space light doesn't travel the same up there as it is down here on Earth. Silence, sounds do not travel the same. The sounds do not travel the same. So, with us knowing the simple fact, science, that sounds travel differently, sounds travel very much differently in different atmospheres and different spaces. And if it's your space, your path, your atmosphere, when others are visiting, or when you're visiting others, there are some we have understanding, and then there are some where the message doesn't transcribe clearly, at least in that one way. But there's other forms of communicating, understanding, but that doesn't mean all paths are meant to align. And that's something we find in solitude. the silence. But not all people's solitude is just silence. It can be busy noise or something. But in reality, silence often precedes elevation. I don't explain my pauses, as I've had many, from simply talking on this podcast, building the safe space, carving out Goddess in Control, social media, where people think we just have to connect and share everything about ourselves, pauses in personal life when I take breaks or use my time on different things and friends and family relationship. I do so either explaining or my community has an understanding of my breaks, the pauses. I honor my breaks because I know I value my me time. I value my dynamics, personal one time. I value my children time for sure. But in order to focus on those, I must pause, step back a bit, create that boundary space for my other projects, other things, myself included. And when I come back from what I was pausing, I don't come back with explanation. I come back to honor them, to enjoy the present moment of being, just like I'm enjoying the moment of finally coming back to Crown and in Control and having this time to record and talk and listen with you lovers. Lovely lovelies, even though I feel like I'm rambling a bit or stumbling over my words, which is okay. The more you listen, the more you'll learn to understand, and we will learn to understand each other and deeper understand ourselves. And I do expect others to respect the silence of the sacred circle. Because, yes, in our communities, I am the queen of free will, as well as the lover, as well as the lover of consensual non consent. But that's on the Chrystal, the Dom side. But the silence is a boundary that is sacred to me, as you should have your own sacred silence place, either alone, with others, loved ones, your fantasy place with your shared partner, your fantasy place with yourself. I very much enjoyed my silent sacred places because in those moments of building Triquetra in the circle, I wasn't just building a simple business, one of these people trying to force you to love yourself and be with yourself and blah, 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 self, which is very important, nonetheless, to understand yourself. But that's not what the Triquetra in this circle is. What what I was doing in my silent time was birthing the next era of who I am, what I tolerate, how others sees me, who have access to me. And I realized that I don't want followers. I'm not a cult leader. Ugh, no. I'm all about raising independent self, if anything, but also knowing the importance of gatherings and communities, structure. So, no, I don't want followers. I want witnesses. people who can walk with me, grow beside me, and on their own journey. This place isn't for you to come here and just wither away. No, this space is for you to come here and grow as you're already doing so well with yourself. Yeah, you're doing so well with yourself. So why not share and embrace that place with those who understand, or even to seek structure in yourself, whether it be through guidance or leadership, you know? Hmm. Consent and free will are always important, nonetheless. Even to yourself, what boundaries do you have? What consent do you allow and deny yourself? Hmm. Something to think of as we're coming to a closing here on this lovely podcast, letting you lovelies know what I've been doing behind the scenes. The Triquetra 3 balance that you have noticed or may not have noticed the past patterns building around you, outside, inside, in the silent moments, in the silent moments of you having space to yourself, as you take breaks from things, as you reflect on things that have not been open in a while, you took a pause from, and or may not realize you have left on pause. Where do you need to go silent so you can build? Reflect back on those silent places. Do they need some touching up, some touching? Can they afford to go silent a little longer as you focus on your masterpiece, your legacy? What powers are you afraid to claim because it isn't that loud? Have there been fake whispers that you've been afraid to answer? Are you afraid of power? Can you control the structure? Listen, reflect, sit with what I said, listen to the podcast again with the captions on. If you're having trouble understanding, okay, it's been a while. So just take the time to sit and listen with what was said here on this podcast. As in life and in this moment, we are not in a sprint. We are in the moment. We are summoning what our future empire will look like, whether it be together in the circle or just passing by along energy and waves. I invite you to join me, the movement at Goddess in Control. Stay connected, get more teachings, offerings, and moments of sacred alignment. Because what is sacred to you? Hmm. This is your invitation to walk the path, the many that there are. But let's get some grounding. let's reflect back on where we've been, where we're going, and is that loop circled around many of times? Not just listen to the words. Let's map out a visual guide. Talk to you later, lovelies.